This week in games, the PlayStation 5 Pro details have leaked, a rumored Dead Space 2 remake has been canceled, and Blizzard executives want us to tip game developers. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 195. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
How are you all guys doing today on this lovely Tuesday?
It's
when
a
you're hearing
Tuesday on you hearing it type things, unless it's Monday, because you're watching us live over at twitch.tv/2pennygames. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, of course, the Two Penny Gamescast, where me and Connor come to you each week, Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. Or you can watch us Monday at about 6 p.m. live over at twitch.tv/2pennygames, where we talk about all the nerdy news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each come to you with two topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. Connor, welcome back. Mm-hmm. How's your week been?
I wasn't gone.
No, it's always you. It's always me and you.
Not
here.
always, but this time it was.
Indeed. How you doing?
Yeah, good, busy,
Yeah?
work. You know, my job's very busy this time of year.
You're really kicking your ass right now.
Yeah. You
for
come
sure.
home and you're just like, I'm just going to rest. And then you get on your phone, you scroll, you waste your day away doing
Scrolling
that.
got me in trouble last night, man. I was up till 4 in the morning. Not 4, 3 in the morning. Had to wake up at 7. And yeah, that was a bad choice. It's the TikToks and the Twitters, man.
No matter how, because I'm a night owl, and my job requires me to wake up very early.
I'm the same, except I have school in the morning. So
same concept. I always think to myself the night of, hey, you know, I want to play more games. I've been doing a lot of other stuff today, and I didn't have me time. And so I spend too much time doing that, and I stay up later as a result. And I'm always like, it's fine, and I had fun. And then I wake up the next morning, and my first thought every single time is, I wish I slept more. I wish I went to bed early. That wasn't worth it. And I still do it.
What you should do, Connor, and it's what I'm trying to implement a daily schedule in my week, you know, and have Mondays are the days that I record and I do all the heavy lifting at school. It's my busy school day. Tuesday, kind of my day off. I'm trying to, wake up, go to the gym, get a little workout in, do some like laundry, some little chores that I got to get done, edit a couple of videos and stuff. And then I'm trying to implement doing some writing for a new project I want to work on for the channel. And then, and like just continuing like that, and just building out my schedule around work and school and just having a set, consistent thing, and I feel like that's what you maybe need. You need a task to do at the end of the night or at the end of your day and being like, I'm doing this. It's going to take me an hour and then I'm going to do this and go to bed. That's what you need.
It's called taking a shower.
It takes you an hour to take a shower?
No, it's my issue is doing the thing that I need to do before I go to bed, which is take a shower.
Uh-huh.
That gets me in the mood to get a little droopy-eyed, and I'm going to just jump in bed. But I just take a while to do that, to decide I need to hop in the shower. That's my error.
Well, that's my thing. If you set, you get off of work 3?
2:30.
2:30?
I get back.
You get back here 3:30. Sometimes you got to go run an errand, so maybe you're back at 5,
Yeah.
Give yourself the 4 or 5 hours, 9 or 10 o'clock. I don't know, edit a video, do something do something productive for yourself, whatever that may be in your mind. Write, maybe dust off the old writing things for whatever you want. Do something for an hour to improve your mind, and then be like, I'm going to do this for an hour and go to bed. That way you still got your personal time. You still got time to run your errands, and you still got and work, and it's all there.
Scheduling's a bore.
Huh?
Scheduling's a bore.
It is, Connor, but being disciplined leads to a better quality of life.
It does.
So,
Maybe I'll do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are not here to listen to us talk about our quality of life. You are, in fact, here. Huh?
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, you're here to hear our opinions about video games, God damn it!
Who gives a shit?
So you fucking keep watching and you subscribe and you like the content. Drop a comment down below.
Please.
We'd really appreciate it. We'd like to implement, of course, an audience 2 pennies into this. But Connor, it's time to move on to our first topic of the day. My first penny of the day. It's the new news you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. This broke today. Sony's PlayStation 5 Pro is up to 3 times faster and may arrive holiday of 2024. This is, of course, from The Verge by Tom Warren. Sony is reportedly working on a PlayStation 5 Pro model that may well include a far more powerful GPU that's up to 3 times faster for certain tasks than the existing PS5 models. YouTuber Moore's Law is Dead claims to have gotten access to a technical overview document for the PlayStation 5 Pro, codenamed Trinity. And now, Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming reports that the leaked specifications are accurate, and the console is currently set to release during the holiday 2024 period. Screenshots from the technical document include a mention of 67 teraflops of 16-bit floating point calculations. This, of course, means nothing to us, but...
Or most people. Remember that.
Yeah.
Most people will look at that and still think,
listen,
what does that mean?
Listen, people will interpret this and say this is what that means, and we go, okay, great. So... 16-bit floating point calculations, which works out to around 33.5 teraflops of a single precision compute. That reportedly works out to a 45% rendering performance improvement over the PS5. The existing PS5 is a 10.28 teraflop console, but comparing teraflops directly between these consoles is complicated due to changes in AMD's RDNA architecture. Wow. It sounds like tripling the teraflops would be a significant performance increase on the GPU side. Comparing the base PS5 and PS5 Pro would be closer to 10.28 teraflops versus around 17 teraflops. It looks like Sony might be moving from what's effectively an AMD Radeon RX 6700 inside the PS5 to something close to the Radeon RX 7800 XT.
Bigger number.
Yeah, and it's got letters. This could offer more impressive performance for ray-traced games. The PS5 Pro may offer 3 times the ray tracing performance as well, X4 in some cases, Henderson reports. On Sunday, Henderson added more details, like that the Pro would follow the recent PS5 redesign with support for a detachable disk drive. He's also saying the PS5 Pro could have system memory running at 576 gigabytes, 576 gigabytes, a 28% boost over the PS5. As well as better performing audio hardware capable of processing more effects, the PS5 Pro is also said to have the same CPU as the base PS5 with a, quote, high CPU frequency mode that boosts clocks up to 3.85 gigahertz. That would represent a 10% performance boost over the standard PS5. However, Henderson reports that activating it would mean slowing the GPU by about 1.5%. The original leak of documents, which were reportedly posted to Sony's own developer portal, also mentioned PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution (PSSR). It's a little too close. Yeah. a little too close to a former SSR that we don't want to talk about. Anyways,
what? The Normandy?
The Russians.
Oh!
Yeah. Anyways, this is rumored to use PlayStation machine learning for image upscaling that's similar to NVIDIA's DLSS or AMD's versions and will help improve ray tracing performance on the rumored PS5 Pro console. While Moore's Law is Dead hasn't always been the most reliable source for console leaks, Henderson's reporting suggests that Sony's own first-party studios have been testing PS5 Pro dev kits since September, with third parties getting access in January. Henderson previously reported last year that a PS5 Pro was being planned with a target release date of November 2024. It sounds like Sony may well be on target to hit that ambitious time frame. So, Connor, a lot of information there, and the leading question after all of that is it worth it? Is it worth it to upgrade to a mid-gen refresh of the PlayStation 5?
Really, I think it comes down to a setting that the PS5 has when you boot up a game. Mm-hmm. It'll generally ask you, do you want to prioritize performance or graphical content? I've always thought, why can't I have both? Well, maybe this is their answer to it. Maybe all they needed was a little bit of hardware upgrades like the PS5 Pro is offering, and that'll be an issue of the past. Because particularly with God of War Ragnarok, which is a very pretty-looking game.
I'm going to cut you off real quick. For whatever, you're a little more right in the frame. Can you scooch to your left a little bit?
My left?
Yeah, keep going. One more.
That's my right tab.
Is it?
It is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your left.
You're right. It's my left and it's the camera's left, but it's your right. You're
Easy
correct.
mistake. Easy
I'm sorry, I cut you off. God of War Ragnarok.
No, but yeah, God of War Ragnarok was one of the first games when I booted up a PS5 and it gave me that option. I was like, well, this game, I feel like it'd be really beneficial for me to have both. Obviously, that's not what's possible. You're going to have to choose one of the other.
As well.
Yeah,
Spider-Man 2 more than God of War Ragnarok, in my opinion.
Fair enough. There's a lot more going on at the screen at any given time. But it was always kind of an issue with the PS5 because that's not something you really have to decide between when it comes to PC, which is something that was kind of the goal, at least it seemed like it was, for PS5 to be, even though it's still a home console.
Heavy-duty PCs.
Yeah, heavy-duty PCs, which I have. So it kind of was like, well, I could have just, played this game if it was available on the PC and gotten, bypassed that issue. So I hope that's what this would entail because other than that, it just really seems like numbers that you can objectively look at and say it's going to perform better, but is it really going to be worth buying? We're going to have to see the side-by-side comparisons. I don't remember what it was like during the PS4 Pro, but I recall with my limited memory, it not being that impressive. Though there was
it was. I mean, it wasn't like it's not a full like console generation. So if you went from base model PS4 to base model PS5, yeah, that felt like a generational jump. But from the 4 to 4 Pro to 5, it was incremental steps. The 4 Pro did give you access to HDR, which improves coloring. Or rather provides a wider range of colors. The blacks get really black, It allowed for more consistent 60 FPS type things and allowed for ray tracing, which you could not get on the original PlayStation 4. And it started that trend of that you're talking about, which I think I agree with you. That's the most important thing. Of the switching between performance mode or fidelity mode. Do you want the image to look cleaner or do you want it to run at 60 FPS? And then like ray tracing gets lost somewhere in there just depending on what the dev studio is able to do. That's what's important here. Is this a big enough technological jump to where we don't have to choose anymore? And that's really where that's really where the next step is, right? For console gaming is just, hey, there's no more choosing. This is the standard. It does both. Of course, the technology will always improve and get better, and there will always be more incremental steps. But right now, why are we still being held on by 30 frames per second to still get the nice 4K imaging? Why? What is going on here? That it doesn't seem reasonable at this point. And it is just the hardware and a bunch of other things holding these dev studios back at this point. So hopefully, this will allow them to jump up. And of course, it's going to be different for every single video game. Obviously, third-party studios aren't going to have the most fidelity in their games just because they have to work on multiple consoles and it's not their bread and butter machine all the time. But Spider-Man 3, or Wolverine, maybe we'll be able to have all of the bells and whistles that we want. That would be the ideal situation, right? My thing about it is this. You've already said we're not getting a sequel or a existing IP until some point halfway through next year. You plan on launching this in holiday season, which makes sense. You launch a console holiday seasons usually. Excuse me. But what are you launching it with? Are you launching it with something?
Well, see, that's the thing. First of all, it makes sense that they would release it this year due to the fact that they don't have those games coming out that would really grab people's attention just on the name alone.
Yeah.
But, hey, brand new console, upgraded console, that will get people to buy, especially if it's lacking on games. You're maybe saving money on not buying a bunch of new ones because there's a large portion, especially with the PlayStation, of owners who just play, as you've said multiple times on this podcast, 1 or 2 games a year.
Yeah.
And they're like the Call of Duties, the name brand.
But they don't need this. They're not going to go for this machine. It's guys like us who would go for this machine. So we're up. Mm-hmm. What are you using it? I think obviously to demo it, you should use a Horizon Forbidden West or a Spider-Man 2, something like that. Maybe Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart or even Returnal or something like that. But my thing is you should have something coming out this holiday season to pair with this.
Well, I think we covered this 2 weeks ago, or it was last week, which is that there were rumors that a event for PlayStation is happening in May. Mm-hmm. It makes sense in alignment with coming out with its new console in November.
Announce
whatever other games
you're
you
doing
wanna
for
do,
the rest of the year.
which is the problem because we can't name anything because of that original story of no existing IPs being continued this year.
Just in general, what do we have on PlayStation's schedule this year? The only thing I can think of is Stellar Blade.
And Silent Hill.
Maybe Silent Hill.
Very possible with what we've been getting with rumors.
It hasn't been
getting a
confirmed
rating
for this year yet.
No, it hasn't. But we've gotten like different bits and pieces of information. Like it was on a website, a video game seller website. I think it was like Walmart or some shit like that.
Yeah.
It was being listed there online.
Yeah, but all these third-party things, they're just guessing. They're just guessing. You know, they don't know for sure. And of course, you know, this is game development. Anything can happen.
Yeah. These are rumors. These aren't hardline things, but you can kind of lick your finger, hold it up, feel the wind, kind of guess that it is coming this year.
Yeah.
And
Draft
it would make
it in your
sense.
fantasy, then, if you're so confident. Do it.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the issue is that the quality is what's debatable.
Yeah,
But I
that's the
could
problem.
get it.
You could get it now. You could get it now. Silent Hill 2 remake.
You know what?
Not
We'll
the
see.
worst. Not the worst idea in the world. I'll be honest. Not the worst idea in the world.
It's not.
No, but so let's say I think you would have to, with announcing this, you would have to announce a price cut to the base PS5 model, and they already increased it in some regions. You know, so what are we looking at here? Let's say base model was what, 500. So 550 for this, and then bring the base model down to 4.
I feel like with the CPU they're adding to it, it's not going to be $50.
You think 100? You think $600 for this thing?
Yeah, I think I think they can justify that due to the fact that the disk drive alone bumped it up to that price tag. You know, because you're comparing the base PS5 without the disk drive.
Well, without the disk drive was it 600?
It should be. I think it was 600.
I thought it was a 400 for no disk drive, 500 for width.
And then in that case, it still would make sense that 600 as a price tag. It's not coming with it, obviously. So it's built for it, for having that detachable disk drive, which I don't really like, but that's me.
GameStop has it at $410. Walmart has it for $400. I don't know why GameStop is up doing it. And then PS5 with disk drive.
That's what it was.
Is it 450? I don't know. It's weird now because we're like 4 or 5 years into this bitch.
Which, I mean, if you're trying to make up for the goodwill of failing with being able to provide people with consoles, it makes sense for them to not be ridiculous with the price tag, especially when you had the loss with the PS VR 2, which flopped this year.
Yeah.
It came out this year or
Last year.
Last year, but, you know, the sales, which you should have seen have a pretty big hike this year, didn't happen. So you can't be testing people with, you know, trying to drive their wallet to fucking be empty, you know? Don't make it too much, please. Well, I don't really care because I'm not going to buy this.
My thing is like, what else? Is there anything else other than this? Because I don't think this is enough. I don't think this is exciting. Personally, it's nice. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll invest in it to get it. If it is like, hey, you no longer have to choose between things, at least with first party games, I could see myself diving in for that. You know, I didn't regret diving into the PlayStation 4 Pro, so why would I regret it for the 5 Pro? But the thing is like, PlayStation 5 life cycle has not been nearly as impressive as the 4 was, you know? So like, why would I do that? You know, and you know, when I do go back and replay games like God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, when I go back and play Horizon Forbidden West, when I eventually play Wolverine, Ghost of Tsushima 2, whatever Naughty Dog does in 5 years, you know, maybe I would like to play it with some nicer hardware, you know, but as of right now, I don't see a reason why. So now I have to start looking at other things going on. And you got to think about how the PS Portal exceeded expectations. I'm not going to say it definitely didn't set the world on fire, but it exceeded expectations. People bought it, and you know, PlayStation wasn't expecting so many people to buy it. So there is a hunger for some type of portable PlayStation something. I'm not saying this is it. I don't think this is it. But is there a chance for a better accessory item to also be announced alongside this? Something closer to a PlayStation on the go than what the PS5 or what the PS Portal is.
Just say PSP 2 or PS Vita 2.
I don't know. I don't think you go to either of those brandings again.
It would make sense if they didn't, but they've always done different branding with their mobile stuff.
Well, they have 2, so
not the Move isn't. Yeah, but don't they have 3? Don't they have the PSP? PS4?
No. Remember, it's the PlayStation Portal. PlayStation Vita is the sequel console to that, and then it failed, so they didn't do another one from there. And then just last year, they released the PlayStation Portal, which is basically just being able to stream your game to a different screen.
But those, I was just thinking there was 3 different, consoles in general. Even if one is just a second version of the same thing.
No.
Oh well. I didn't play any of them.
Yeah. Connor, yes or no on this? So.
No, hell no.
No?
It's done nothing. The most lackluster thing about this era of games is they haven't really been able to make the PS5 stand out as a console. Whereas the PS4 was able to do that, 3 and 2 were as well. 3 with the Xbox 360 challenging it very well. While this one, even though it's locked down in the market compared to the Xbox substantially, you don't hear people like praising the PS5 as being particularly amazing.
It just hasn't. It hasn't formed an identity yet.
No,
it's just PS4 again.
Which, when you're trying to sell the next version of the same console, doesn't really.
We just don't know. Like it made sense with PS4 Pro. It's like, hey, we are that heavy duty fidelity console. Yeah. So here's the update to that, and it kind of made sense, right? So like when Spider-Man came out, because it launched, that was the launching thing, is those two together. It made sense, and then like, do I have that right? I do, right? Maybe I don't. Google when the PS4 Pro came out. And then, but like now you look around and you just go, I don't know, man. I don't see what makes the PlayStation 5 special. 2018?
Yeah. I'm still looking. 2016.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. And then they just did because I got it 2 years later with the Spider-Man.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful console. Let me tell you what, I'm gonna hold on to that thing till the day I die. But yeah, I don't know, man. Right now it's a wait and see. I want to see what the rest of PlayStation has for this year. If they have something heavy duty coming, a new IP, Blue Point. Oh God. That would be smart.
It would be.
That would be smart. Launch the PS5 with a Blue Point game. Launch the PS5 Pro with a Blue Point game.
We'll have to wait until May to find out.
Ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow for more so that you can keep up with all of the new news you need to know concerning the video game industry, including topic number 2, my second penny of the day. Fuck, this one's a heartbreaker. Dead Space 2 Remake reportedly shelved following lackluster sales of the first game. This is from VGC by Tom Ivan. Plans for a Dead Space 2 remake have reportedly been shelved after the first game failed to deliver commercially. That's according to Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb, who was discussing developer Motive's current projects following the news that EA has made the studio part of its wider Battlefield development team. Quote, they were working on Dead Space 2, and they are no longer working on it, he claimed on Wednesday. Quote, it's on the shelf because the first game had lackluster sales, is how it was phrased to me. And then there was an update to that story. EA has responded to Grubb's claims with a spokesperson telling IGN, quote, we don't normally comment on rumors, but there is no validity to this story. Update 2, Motive was reportedly hoping to make a brand new Dead Space game rather than a remake before EA put the franchise on hold again. In his own response to the publisher's comment, Grubb stuck to his guns, writing, quote, I give you my permission to believe EA if you want. But whenever a company says that isn't true, but they don't specify which part of the story they are talking about, well, yeah. Dead Space 2 was definitely being planned. It had a code name, and they aren't making it now. Announcing the studio's plans on Tuesday, Motive GM Patrick Klaus said, quote, the directors who delivered our Dead Space remake in 2023, Felipe Ducarme, executive producer, and Roman Campos Oriola, creative director, will build a team at Motive to work alongside the Battlefield studios around the world, creating what's next for Battlefield, a universe across both multiplayer and single-player experiences. In parallel, development continues to move forward on our Iron Man project, led by Olivier Prowls, and Ian Fraser. He said, Grubb said Dead Space 2 Remake had been in pre-production before Motive's plans change. Quote, so if you were looking forward to see Dead Space 2, it's straight up bad news. Does this mean it never happens? I don't know if that's the case, but as it stands right now, they were working on it. It was in the concepting phase, I believe. It was in pre-production, and now that work has been put on the shelf, and they are done with it, and this studio is now making Iron Man and Battlefield. Fuck!
Yeah.
Fuck!
You really loved the remake of Dead Space, and you'll never get it again. It's a one-time experience, Tavin. Treasure it. You know, this has been a trend, I feel, of games having, coming out, and then the response from the publisher saying it didn't meet expectations.
What the fuck were the expectations?
Yeah, I know with Final Fantasy 16, that was the last time I remember hearing it, and it, got a ton of fanfare, got good sales from what we saw, and yet they still said that same exact thing.
Sold 3 million at that point. Yeah.
And so it's like, that's very vague. As Grubb said, with the response to the story of saying it's not true, it's all about vagueness with these game publishers. Is that, okay, how much do we trust you? Not that much, if we're being honest here. Game studios, with all of the layoffs, now we're getting to the point where we have studio closures happening. You can't really trust what these big name publishers, especially ones like EA, are saying. You got to take everything with a grain of salt because they do not deserve the benefit of the doubt at this point.
Well, especially with a publisher who has the history like EA does. Now, granted, I think they've improved their image. Excuse me. Lord alive, just lost all my breath for a second. Now, granted, I think EA has improved its image in the last decade. They are not what they were in 2011. They're I would say a much better publisher hand over fist today than they were back then. But they're still one of the biggest publishers in the world. They're still profit focused. They're still profit driven, as they probably should be when they're that big. But it's just like, bro, what the fuck were your expectations for this? It is a Dead Space remake. Like, where did you think it was gonna go from your team that isn't one of your biggest teams in the world? And it was phenomenal, critically acclaimed. And I'm telling you right now, it's probably in conversation for top 3 remakes of all time, if you ask me. Dead Space Remake is fucking phenomenal. Go play it if you haven't. You will not regret it. And this is super heartbreaking for me. Someone who loves the first 2 Dead Space games. Obviously, they're different in their own ways, and who was extremely disappointed in Dead Space 3 and that franchise being put on hold for literally a decade. Until we got this remake, and I was really hopeful for the next step. Whether that was a Dead Space 2 remake, whether that was just a sequel to this remake game that they were planning, or just a new game entirely, I was excited for the future of Dead Space again. I would have bought whatever they put out again. And this is so disappointing because, again, how is 2 million sales not enough for this? And my thing is like, why does every game need to be this big, this huge? Dead Space is 10 hours long for full price, and it is a phenomenal 10 hours. Front to back, there's no bad part about it, which is more than you could say about the original game, because there's several bad parts about that original game. And so now it's just like, bro, you delivered a masterclass in horror. In survival horror, it was awesome. It's fun to play. I was literally, before this story came out, Connor, I was literally thinking about replaying it again because I just love it so much. It's that fucking good. And Motive just knocked it out of the park. And now we've got just this long line of stories. We've got the canceled Respawn game, the Mandalorian game that got canceled. We see them moving away from licensed IP. We're seeing them moving away from sequels. What are you moving to? More Battlefield? EA! Battlefield has not been relevant in 7 years. Battlefield 1 was the last one that I remember having any type of relevance in this conversation. Nobody fucking cared for Battlefield 5. Battlefield 1942, you may as well have just blinked and that game came and went so fucking fast. Who wants Battlefield?
I mean, this isn't about Battlefield, but they did say they're looking to possibly doing another Dead Space game. So at least it's not casting it into the pits of hell.
That's the conflict in rumors. is what that is, Connor. Is Grubb is saying it was Dead Space 2 remake, and someone at the studio is saying, no, we were actually looking to like make our own Dead Space game, but now regardless, it's all been shelved. So Dead Space dead again.
Potentially. You never know what these guys are trying to do behind scenes. And it's admittedly a remake is different in both in terms of what they should expect in terms of sales and what they would get in sales. I feel like a new game would attract more eyes. That's not to say that this is excuses them for canceling this or canceling Dead Space 2 remake, because these companies are very profit motivated, and to the point where they kind of screw over the artistic abilities of their workers to make more money.
And listen,
what they think is make more money.
I'm not mad at Motive at all for this either. Motive, I think, is actually a pretty damn good quality studio for the projects that they've put out so far. Excuse me. I am excited to see what their Iron Man game is. This does make me a little trepidatious. Excuse me again. This does make me a little trepidatious on whether or not it's even going to come out. Or what the quality will be, since you're now splitting the studio in half and making them go work on fucking Battlefield.
It's an insult.
It's ridiculous, is what it is. It's fucking ridiculous. But Star Wars Squadrons was a really, really well put together game for what it was. It was a small game, very small. But it was very well put together. Of course, their work on the Battlefront 2 game from 2017 or whatever. I like that game a lot, and so their work on that is quite quality to me. But like, really, they really stepped out of the shadows with Dead Space Remake, and that game, dude, it's easily in the conversation of like top 5 survival horror games of all time. Like, it is that good. It really is. And so this is just so heartbreaking to not let them get their own shot at whatever they were making. Because even if they were going to do a Dead Space 2 remake, you imagine it would be drastically different from the original Dead Space 2. It would follow the formula of the first game more. It'd be more survival horror as opposed to the action-based change we saw with the original game. And again, I love Dead Space 2. Arguably, no, I think definitively I like Dead Space 2 more than 1. The originals I'm talking about. But they did such a good job with Dead Space Remake that, like, dude, anything. I would have, whether it's new, whether they sequelized it and took it in an entirely different direction, or if it was just a straight up remake of 2, I would have taken it, because I'm so confident in that team with this IP. And now to see that they don't get to have that shot to really put their own stamp on the franchise, it's heartbreaking.
And kind of used to it though.
For Battlefield.
Hey, maybe this new one will be great. I like the Battlefield from, 2013 or something like that? Love that one, actually. Maybe we'll be back in those times.
Did you just quote Battlefield 3 at me?
Battlefield 3, that's what it was, yeah.
We've had 3 Battlefields since then, and they all fucking flopped.
3.
We've had 4.
Battlefield 3 is all I care about, Tab.
You liked 4, didn't you? You played 4?
I did, but it was like...
It was more 3?
No. Well, it was in terms of gameplay, but I feel like the maps took a dive.
The only way that I'd be okay with this, Connor, is if Motive is working on a Battlefield Bad Company game.
That'd be nice.
Which would make sense. Smaller spin-off IP, but it does have some legacy. Hey, let's give it a reboot. I don't want a remake of the first game. I just want a reboot and give it to this team who has shown that, they got some talent. They got some juice. I'm not gonna put them like upper echelon studio, but they've got the makings of it right now. Of building that way. So I don't know, man. I hope that they're just going, hey, Dead Space didn't meet our expectations. Let's go in another direction, but let's continue to build on this team. And it's not, hey, let's do what Activision was doing with studios like Toys for Bob, or and just making them work on Call of Duty until the end of fucking time. Because I can't comprehend the idea that Battlefield as an IP is one that still has weight behind it.
I think it's got some juice left in it. It's run empty, but it's got it.
Because nobody gave a fuck about 1942.
2042?
2042. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Nobody gave a fuck about that game. Battlefield 1 had some juice, undeniably, but Battlefield 5 lost it all. And then now here we are with 2042, and nobody cared. Why would we care about another one?
They'd make it good?
I don't know.
You're just upset, Tavin.
I'm very upset, Connor, but I guess it's time to move on to another topic, which is just going to upset me even more. Our third topic of the day, Connor, your first penny of the day. Take it away, my friend.
Blizzard again.
Fuck me.
Yep. Even under new management, we got to talk about them, and not in a good way. This is an article from PC Gamer by Ted Litchfield. Former Blizzard president suggests you should be able to leave a $10 or $20 tip for the devs because some games are that special. First reported by VG 247, former Blizzard president...
Come on, 24/7.
24/7. I know, I just blanked out. My brain died.
All right.
Numbers, right? They're not as cool as words. Former Blizzard president Mike Ybarra took to Twitter a few days ago to suggest a new form of showing developer appreciation, having the option to leave a $10 or $20 tip on a game you love. I guess I like the sentiment at least. I agree, Ted Litchfield. Not really. Quote, when I beat a game, there are some that just leave me in awe of how amazing the experience was, Ybarra wrote. At the end of the game, I've often thought, I wish I could give these folks another $10 or $20 because it is worth more than my initial $70, and they didn't try to nickel and dime me for every second, after raising the prices to $70. Ybarra cited games like Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, Elden Ring, and Baldur's Gate 3 as examples of games worth tipping. Quote, I know $70 is a lot, Ybarra added, but it's just an option at the end of the game I wish had at times. Some games are that special, end quote. As I'm sure you can imagine, most of the commenters, as well as VG 24/7, writer Olesen Kunk, weren't exactly thrilled with Ybarra's idea. To be clear, neither am I. Leaving aside the fact that most of us probably already spent too much money on this hobby, there's the question of whose pocket a theoretical tip would wind up in.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. Honestly, the way it's phrased is not as bad and as sinister as it sounds, because I've felt that way too. Hey, after playing Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, I would have paid full price for that game.
The issue with it is,
where does the money go?
No, that's obviously it.
Yeah.
We're in agreement with that definitively. But you raised the price to $70. Apparently,
everything quality of life is already so expensive.
I believe I remember one of the justifications being that obviously games cost more money to make. Mm-hmm. They also make even more and more money. But it was also, hey, it's for the developers to pay us more for making these amazing games, which that reasoning doesn't really matter to people like us, because we constantly we haven't in a while, admittedly, which is good, but we have constantly this year covered video game layoffs in the industry, studio closures. And so when you have that happening, and now you're also saying, give us a little bit more money, it's like, what is that actually going to do? This is all happening after you raise the price of games, which people are still paying, and now we're seeing this happen. The closures happen.
The rise in price doesn't bother me so much. The price had remained the same for so long.
It angers me.
We were at $60 for so long.
For a reason.
So I'm not mad at the rise in price to 70. I get it. But the problem is that I just don't believe that the rise in price is to benefit the developers or the artists or the people actually making the games. It just feels like it's just going straight into executive pockets so that they don't have to cut their bonuses or take a pay cut or make harder choices or make smarter choices. They're just being greedy and doing whatever makes them the most money and not doing what's best for the health of the studio. And I have rolled credits on a game before and been like, you know what? I wouldn't mind just throwing more money at this because the experience was so good. I have felt that before, but I think it's a slippery slope. I work in the service industry. I get my money based off of tipping, not off of a paycheck. Shout out $2.13 an hour, yay! And all of my income comes from the tipping of people. Now they could tip me nothing, or they could tip me exorbitantly well, and that's an interesting thing to balance with. But there's a service that is provided with that. It's not a
you buy a product and you use the product.
It doesn't make sense
yourself.
to have tipping in fast food because you're not serving someone in fast food. You're just giving them a product, right? You're buying the product and you're getting the product, right? That's why
they have to cook.
That's why it's insane that but they also get a paycheck, Connor. So like it balances out, you know.
Depends where you are, how good that paycheck is.
Connor, I don't make minimum wage. Like I don't.
But fast food workers generally do.
They do. Exactly. They usually make more. You know, the Taco Bell guy makes 13 an hour, 14 an hour. You know, I make $2.13 an hour. So I'm dependent upon tips because that's my thing. But I am providing service. I am providing something that is deemed to have monetary value behind it. And, you know, you go out to a restaurant and a good server, you know, does improve the quality of your dinner. You know, they just do. When they know what they're doing, when they're personable, when they're funny, when they know when to back off and let the table talk, all of that stuff, when they give you all the information and recommendations and all that, they can really liven up the time you spend in the restaurant. So it makes sense to give that person that tip. And you also know that money is going straight to that person. You know, it's not going to his manager. It's not going to the executive above him. It's not going to the cook in the back. It's going to the guy who's providing the service, you know? The money that you spent on the food, that goes to the manager. That goes to the cook. That goes to the janitorial staff and so forth. And that's how it all breaks down. So it all makes sense. Games are like, obviously take more time and their art and all that. So they are like, but they're closer to the fast food model of I pulled up, you were getting a paycheck, I bought the product, and I went home and I enjoyed the product, right?
Yeah.
So why would I then put more money on top of that? Now, granted, again, hey, if I could give the Prince of Persia devs more money, I would. But I know how this industry works. I'm not doing it without me, the consumer, also getting something in return. I just won't because it doesn't make any sense. Right?
Yeah, and bringing the consumer back into this, it really does seem like a case of putting the onus of paying workers more on the people who play games rather than the studios themselves, who make tons of money. We already know make tons of money.
Yep.
Bobby Kotick, Lars Windforce. You have infamous names in the industry.
Making hundreds of millions of dollars every year.
And I don't trust you at all. So why would I give you more money not knowing where that goes? You know, you're talking about art, for example. Commissions for art pieces. That makes sense to give a little bit of extra tip besides what their going rate is because you're, once again, giving it directly to them. This one, as well-meaning as those developers are, wanting to make games for people to enjoy, and as much as we appreciate them, there's that level of disconnect that kind of makes it harder to want to tip. Which, at that point, you're getting into the conversation of, whether you would actually take advantage of a service like this, which, hey, if you can, give them a little bit extra money, why not put it there? It's not like it's forcing you to.
If I could give it to a team.
Yeah.
If I could give it to the art team or the sound design team or something like that. Prince of Persia? Fuck yeah, man. Combat team? Gameplay team? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, bro. Here's $30. Sure. Dead Space remake. Audio design? Fucking give those guys $100 right there, Like, that makes sense.
That's just not feasible. It doesn't sound like it's feasible.
How would you even set that up in a way that, you would have to make it super simple to where you're just, giving it on the page store of the video game, in which case now PlayStation might take a cut. The publisher is going to take a cut if it's not already PlayStation. And then what percentage of that money is actually making it to the actual artist who is getting paid the most minimal fraction in comparison to their executive? It's a nice idea. I can appreciate the idea, but to float that idea out with the economy the way it is, the way the world is right now, and how hard times are for people, just a standard of living right now, it is dangerous to float that idea out. It's scary,
especially from someone like Mike Ybarra. You're from Blizzard, the bad times of Blizzard.
Yeah,
we don't trust you. You're in the gaming industry, one of the least trustworthy people, and probably just based off statistics and chance, one of the worst people in the games industry. I'm not saying you are.
Now listen,
but way higher than
the sentiment
not.
is nice.
Yeah,
the sentiment is nice. I like the idea of it, but America's gonna America, and
humanity's gonna humanity.
That too, but it's just no, because it's not on us to pay your workers. It's on you to pay your workers. Pay your workers. Speaking of paying workers, Connor, moving on to story number 4, your final penny of the day. We've had too much heaviness. Let's have something fun. Or not fun. Let's have something heartwarming, something nice. Moving on to topic number 4, your final penny. Take it away, my friend.
Going back to PC Gamer and back to Ted Litchfield. Blasphemous dev reveals that Baldur's Gate 3 studio Larian quietly backed the game on Kickstarter for $1,000 and never asked for anything in return. In a welcome bit of feel-good industry news, Blasphemous level designer Enrique Colinet revealed on Twitter that Larian Studios was one of the game's biggest backers on Kickstarter, and that the studio never made a big deal of it or asked for the backer rewards such as contribution would entail. Such a contribution would entail. Quote, not many people know this, but @Larian Studios was one of the biggest contributors during the @Blasphemous Game Kickstarter campaign, Colinet wrote alongside a screenshot of the game's credits with Larian Studios LLC plainly visible. They dropped a 4-figure sum, never asked for anything in return, and kept making one of the best games ever done in recent years. Legends. While Larian's full list of backed projects is private, you can make out the company's logo among the 3 contributors to Blasphemous' $1,000 The Punisher tier on its Kickstarter page. Blasphemous is a dark and brutal Metroidvania influenced by the Soul series and the aesthetics of Spanish Catholicism as a product of parochial schooling. I've always been intrigued by Blasphemous. Blasphemous's deliciously blasphemous take on the religion I was raised in. We gave the original cut. Okay, yeah. That's nice.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Larian
Studios has been on a good run right now.
Way to be in a position that you're in, and that's what Baldur's Gate 3 came out, and a lot of gamers who don't understand the industry go, "Oh, this is what game devs should be doing if they weren't so lazy all the time," and this, that, and the third. And rightfully so, the industry responded with, well, wait, Larian's really big, and they have a lot of money, and they have the grace of time. So their leadership is good, is what that means. And for the company then to reach out to a smaller studio and provide a meaningful amount of money, $1,000 isn't a lot of money, but it helps. And
from indie dev, yeah,
for a single contributor, that means a lot. I mean, hey man, that's a month or a rent for a month. Mm-hmm. If this is 2 guys working out of their apartment, that's rent. Thank you. That allows us to keep working and focus on this. Cool. I don't know the size of the Blasphemous studio, so I have no idea.
Probably pretty small, considering
it's pretty small. I had to look up gameplay to remind myself of what this game even looked like. No, this game is cool looking, and it's got a great art style and so forth. But clearly, this is probably a pretty small team.
Sven Vinka, being the head of Larian Studios. He had the comments fairly recently where he was saying something about treating. I really wish I knew the things off the top of my head, but treating workers better. He was advocating for better treatment of the people who make games in the industry, which, of course, given the time that we're in, was a good comment to make. But it's nice to see actual, somebody taking the actual initiative to do something.
They're putting the money where their mouth is.
Yeah, which makes me think it's not just the typical PR bullshit that we typically get from these kinds of companies, because it's very cutthroat with how they act, and they just whether it's backloading your game with tons of microtransactions and hoping that's really where your money comes from, or just firing workers, or promising things that your game is going to have and then not delivering on them, like CD Projekt Red did with Cyberpunk.
Or more recently, the controversy with Capcom and Dragon's Dogma 2 with their microtransactions. There's headlines today that Star Wars Outlaws is blocking off entire missions or mission storylines.
Jabba the Hutt mission.
The Jabba the Hutt mission to a microtransaction of some kind. So you just see it all the time. And so it's nice to just see people who are on top of the game right now. They're putting out the best work that they've ever put out, and they're putting out the best work arguably in the entire industry. And they're crowdfunded. Baldur's Gate 3 was crowdfunded. So it's nice for them to now give back to that same grind and say, hey, let's give back to a team that we believe in, that we see is doing something special, and let's give them a better opportunity to realize their vision like we were given. It's a what is it called? Like when you're in a drive-through, it's paying it forward. It's a nice way to pay it forward. I was thinking, when you're in a fast food drive-through, and you're like, you know what? Fuck it. Swipe the card on the guy behind me. And then, the next thing you know, like, everybody just keep paying for the guy behind him and so forth. And, it'll go 4 or 5 cars deep before someone eventually just goes, oh my God, thank you. I can't afford the next guy. But,
Even though they were just going to buy their own food, we know you were going to spend money anyway. I'm McDonald's. You can do it.
Regardless.
You can argue against that.
It's nice to see.
Yeah, it is.
Especially from fresh off the hottest release of last year, debatably out of nowhere. I mean, those who knew, but a lot of people didn't know. And then
Access.
and to release in a highly competitive software year and take control of everybody's hearts and outdo Tears of the Kingdom, outdo Resident Evil 4, outdo Spider-Man 2, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the list goes on and on and on of the great games that we got last year. And then to just see them go, okay, well, let's give an opportunity to someone who else is making a great game, Great to see. Love to see it. Feels good.
Maybe we'll see a little bit more unity among the good side of the gaming industry.
Listen, it's not all bad here,
It's overall bad.
I'm not even going to give it that. We're in a bad spot right now. Right now, we're in a bad spot.
Yeah.
But overall, there's a lot of love in this industry. And it's always nice to be able to see it.
Yeah.
So, anyways. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for the Two Penny Gamescast. Thank you so much for watching and listening along with us. Remember, you can get this show every Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow all the social links down below, including our TikTok. We're posting TikToks all the time. Just go over there, hit the follow button. It's YouTube Shorts are here. Hit the subscribe. We're here, man. We give the news. We give funny little diatribes. We go reviews. We do retro reviews. We do new reviews. There's a brand new spoiler cast for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth live on the channel now. It was Connor, it was you and me.
It was.
At 10 o'clock at night. Fucking listening to me rant and rave about the theories that I have for that game. Go watch that. It gets kind of wild. It does get kind of wild. Until next time, have a great time. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye and have a nice night or day.